Welcome back to Midnight Mayhem. I'm hosting today. I'm Bobby, and I love horror.
Leo and I love movies.
And I'm Raymond, the other guy.
Thank you for joining us. Today's going to be a little blast from the past. We're kind of revisiting one of our first movies we ever reviewed, which was Hellraiser, the first Hellraiser movie. So we finally got around to the sequel because I threw it on the roulette wheel just because I kind of wanted the nostalgia of it. I'm all for that nostalgia. So how'd you, this is going to be Raymond's first time viewing it. My second or third time now.
My second time after
Good
10
minute.
years, yeah.
I remember watching it right after Dead Meat did the kill count, or Dead Meat released the kill count. I was like, okay, I gotta watch Hellraiser 2. So I watched it as it went along. So, all right. So order of today, we're not gonna try to break down the whole movie just because we know the videos kind of drag out that way. So we'll just quickly run through it.
Also,
Drag
talking
out.
about
we were having a good time.
talking about
No, I'm
talking about
when we're trying to remember the movie properly.
we might jump in kind of fast because we're testing something out too. This is gonna be the first 4K video that we record.
Fancy.
In HD.
So we'll see how it goes.
Anyway, we are back with the Cenobites and the world's easiest puzzle. So you want to just take us off with a quick synopsis and kind of tell us what the movie was about?
First off, do we recommend the movies based off your rating system? So,
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone
I
agrees
was
they
a little
recommend it.
iffy at the beginning. As the movie went on, I was like, okay.
Every movie has to have its slow start. Again, this is not intro level horror, so you're like, oh, I'm gonna start off with Hellraiser. No, don't do that.
I heard this one's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just give it all this praise like a 12-year-old
Yeah.
goes and watches it. No, watch it after you've watched a good amount of horror beforehand. I recommend, based on your rating system, was watch alone, watch with people, and what was the other one?
Don't watch it all.
Don't watch it all. Watch with people, 100%. I feel like
Really?
watching this with you guys was so much more fun. Like, I loved watching it by myself, but watching it with you guys was like the best. Like,
That's because I'm entertaining as hell.
nah.
I think this is a watch by yourself. I feel like this is like a double feature.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I had said in the old video, but if you haven't seen that, basically I was like, this is like the
No.
perfect.
If you haven't seen it, go back and watch it.
It's literally like the perfect sequel. Like, it directly correlates side by side, hand in hand.
You kind of hyped me up when you said that because you're like, oh, it's a perfect sequel. And when I think of that, I immediately think of like Insidious Chapter 2.
Yeah, Insidious Chapter 2 is the best one in my opinion from
Yeah.
the horror genre.
But I was expecting like
And-
that level. Like it was good. It's just
And what
Dude,
do you
it
think-
literally
what do you
just
think?
started
What do
where
you
I left
think?
off.
What do you think of this as a perfect sequel?
is a perfect sequel.
Like, I think it's a pretty good sequel.
I think it's a solid.
Solid, yeah.
Solid.
I'd say solid.
Well, I mean, to be honest, compared to all the other sequels that came after this one, it is a perfect sequel. I think
Well, like direct sequel we're talking about.
direct sequel. Yeah, I mean, there's some the other ones try to tie in and somehow.
So that's my rating. I do recommend it only if you already have a taste for horror. Cousin, what about you? You said by yourself.
I would say if I had to experience this for the first time, I'd probably watch it by myself.
Okay, and then Leo.
No, with people. It's definitely people.
It was just-
Why you're scared?
It's definitely with people.
I
Like,
was never scared at any point. I was just like, this is just fun. This is awesome. Like,
yeah, it's like just getting everybody's reaction.
yeah. Okay. So, quick synopsis of the movie. We start off from Christie's perspective, right? She's still in custody because last time we left her,
She
whole
had
house,
a hell of a night. Huh?
her whole house imploded
Yeah.
and
A dragon flew out of the
Cenobites
Fought off
just
some demons.
it was just like the worst night ever. And
Yeah.
so she starts off in the institution. We slowly find out that her doctor is not the kindest person in the world. Has a very very big infatuation with the lament configuration and where the history of it came from. In fact, he has like 3 collected.
Yeah.
And then
It seemed like more though.
there
we'll get to that
were
point later
more.
on, yeah.
Yeah. And then
He had 3 that he really liked.
and then
in the glass cases.
Yeah.
These ones are my favorite.
My favorite ones.
And then we get because of her knowledge of the previous film and of her previous adventure, she knows that where the person who had opened the original lament configuration and died or was dragged to hell can be reborn. So she warns them, hey, throw away the mattress that Julia died on because she was evil and she'll probably come back if she has a chance to.
And then, that was like, she shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, because she didn't know her doctor was
Yeah,
nuts. So.
Right.
So that kicks off our story, and what I love about this movie, especially the series as the first 2 go, is that they're kind of like fairy tales. They're very much. They even said it in this.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
They're like fables.
They said like
It's-
like fairy tales come true, even the bad ones.
Yeah, and she even this is like a yes queen for Julia. Oh my god,
Yeah.
what
Slay,
a
queen, slay.
villain!
what a
My
what a
goodness.
comeback!
Hashtag
what
girl
a
boss.
comeback!
Like-
Hell yeah, dude! I was like, this is
What a
awesome.
I hated her in the first movie. I was like, it's cool how they use her as a side villain, but in this one, she comes back full force.
I compared her
Full
to
force.
was it Mrs. Voorhees? Like
yeah,
Pamela
yeah,
Voorhees.
Yeah,
That's what I
exactly.
compared her to in the last movie.
Yeah.
But in this one, she's
She's
fully.
Full on
Jason.
Jason.
She is
yeah,
her.
she's
She is.
full on.
Yeah, you don't mess with her.
Mm-hmm.
Then she also made the comparison of like, I'm no longer the stepmother, the evil stepmother.
I'm the evil
I'm the
queen.
evil queen. Like, yeah. So if that sparks your interest at all, and you haven't seen Hellraiser 2, I highly recommend it because from there it just takes off. And so that's gonna be our review over the movie portion, and now we're just gonna get straight into spoilers. So we want to just start off wherever, or where do you guys want to go?
I want to start off with the introduction of the newer characters.
Okay.
Sure, yeah.
So the new character that
Spoilers
they
going
added that I felt was like completely pointless. Tiffany.
Yeah.
I feel like she didn't
yeah.
need to be like because
She could have been just anybody.
I
because
mean-
it was like they're like, oh, she's so good at solving puzzles. Like, yeah, anyone who had the limit
Anybody-
configuration is good at puzzles.
Yeah, or
I
not
feel
even
like-
that, but it's like anybody. Like she didn't. My bad.
No, you're good.
Like there was nothing really special about her. Like she
It was-
wasn't saying much. And it's not that she was mute or anything.
She
You
just didn't
know,
want to talk.
she just was traumatized. So I feel like any other character could have just taken over her part.
I would have liked a little more explanation behind her, but I was like, that's okay. I could live without it.
It was because like
It sounds
they
like-
have a little bit of flashback for her backstory, and her mom's like, she likes puzzles too much. Heaven forbid she has a hobby, but she's like, she likes puzzles. You gotta help me, doctor. She likes puzzles.
It's taking over her
Brainwash
life.
Yeah.
And then same thing, you say something wrong in front of the doctor, suddenly people go missing.
Yeah, so did he just kidnap
killed,
her?
Yeah, he killed her mom, and
Her
then he
mother.
kidnapped her. Basically, like made her like comatose in a sense.
A
and
little
was
bit,
using it
yeah.
to solve puzzles.
Well, that's why
I
she didn't
mean-
talk to anyone because she knew that her doctor was the villain. Yeah,
When you guys want to get into like trivias and facts, I got some crazy ones for you.
right after this.
But right after this, but the reason why it feels like that is because this movie had a bunch of deleted scenes, and one of those deleted scenes is more backstory for Tiffany.
Yeah, it seemed like there was.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
the movie
'Cause it-
rounds off
it
at an
seemed like-
hour and 40, so like,
What was it
Mhm.
was like another horror movie franchise where they like introduced the second character, like the new girl, and they're like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
we're gonna continue the franchise with her. I feel like that's kind of what they
Sounds
wanted
really
to do.
familiar.
That was like
That was a bunch of horror movies, dude.
yeah.
It was like Halloween. Well, Halloween
oh, it
4.
could be Aliens.
Aliens
3.
3. Well,
could-
no, Aliens 2.
No,
I feel
Aliens.
like it was a
Aliens
slasher
3.
though.
No, Aliens 3.
Aliens 3 is the one. Okay, I will
No,
spoilers
no,
for
no.
Aliens.
Aliens. Aliens.
Oh, no, you ruined
No,
it.
Aliens is when they introduced the little girl,
Yes.
and then Aliens 3, she's dead.
Yeah.
So
Spoiler.
They literally kick it off with their death.
Halloween,
Sorry.
Halloween 4 is when they introduced.
Oh, Halloween 4 was.
yeah,
was
it's
awful
when they
about that.
introduced that little girl, you know,
Oh yeah.
and then Halloween 5 and 6, I believe, kind of continues her story.
Yeah.
But she was supposed to like take over.
Yeah,
you know,
over the
but
Laurie.
And,
exactly.
yeah. Well, she was supposed to be the new Michael Myers by the end
Something
of the
like that. Yeah.
one before. Side tangent. All right, back to Hellraiser.
Sorry,
But
yeah.
then you have the other character, Kyle.
Super pointless.
Yeah.
Oh,
but I
the
know actually I liked
psychiatrist?
it the way it's
No, yeah, he was like the second love interest, even though
Yeah.
like
Well,
she has a boyfriend. And they didn't really write him out of the story. They were just like,
The
oh,
guy-
yeah,
he went
he's
home.
Ben Schwartz.
Yeah, the guy you think looks like Ben Schwartz.
Well, the thing is, like, he served a purpose to get our main character from point A to point B.
Sure.
Like,
yeah.
he questioned what she said. Maybe she was right, even though she's in a loony bin.
Yeah.
And
Let's
then-
go
also,
check it
Looney
out.
Bin, like free range. She's a homicide suspect, not even handcuffed to the bed where
Yeah,
the
dude,
detective
yeah,
was there.
Exactly.
And
Not
then-
even homicide suspect. But like there
They
was
didn't lock
like
the door.
The
She walked
80s
out.
The 80s was wild.
there was like
place.
skins, you know, people just like laying in her house.
Yeah.
And then he did subvert expectations. So hopefully you watched it. But yeah, his death.
Yeah.
You guys said you saw the death coming. Obviously, I felt like he was gonna die once Julia showed up. But I was like,
I was
I
waiting-
thought he was gonna be there a little bit longer than that.
Like you said, I was waiting for that stab.
Yeah.
I was waiting
just
for that
imagine him
stab.
going behind him and just stab and then
I-
have what's her name?
I thought it was.
Kirsty. What is it? Kirsty.
Christy.
Remember I said it was like two
Is it-
versions.
no,
the way
yeah,
the
'cause-
Cenobites say it and the way they
the
say
it's
it.
spelled, it's Kirsty.
Oh, Kirsty. Yeah, you're right. Kirsty.
Yeah.
It's Kirsty.
See?
Okay.
We're bad at this.
K-I-R-S-T-I-Y.
But I was expecting like him just get stabbed, her to like move him, and then for her to go look for him. It was
Mhm.
just weird that she was like, "Don't go in there. I didn't want to surprise you because you're gonna see some weird stuff in there. And he goes inside, and she kisses him and kills him anyway.
And can we talk about like with that many bodies in that room? Like, do you think you can catch a
No,
whiff
for sure.
from the staircase
they
at
have,
Like,
least?
how do you not
AC
smell
running,
that? I was like,
like-
I don't know.
They're
maybe
like, I'm gonna
fresh
check in
decomposers.
this house. Yeah, even the cop in the beginning where he's just all like, let me
Looking
check
around,
on
he's
there here, and then he like lifts it up. There's like a decomposing body with Maggie's like, oh god, like you can smell that from outside.
Yeah.
You can definitely smell that from
And then the
outside.
body that like falls on him and he shoots him.
Twice,
He was coming right at
no,
me.
3 times or something.
All
Yeah, he
right,
shot him like 3 times.
So let's do favorite scenes. What was your favorite scene in the movie? I'll say mine at the end because mine's towards the end.
Oh no, bro.
There's a couple of
no,
really good scenes.
okay, yeah, you're right, yeah.
Well, I like the part where I do like a whole lot of the portion where they're like exploring hell, because it's just like that's
cool.
what they didn't explore in the first movie. But I liked where
I
she
love
freaks
that they did
out
that.
running into the Cenobites, and she's like messing with the puzzle, like, "Hey, what are you gonna do? Where are you gonna send us?"
Yeah,
Oh,
the Cenobites
yeah.
start
And
roasting her.
They start roasting her.
What are you
and
gonna
they
do?
like,
Send us back home?
Yeah.
We're already home.
You're standing in my house.
and then the female Cenobites she's like, "Oh yeah, it's not your fault. Like first you didn't know what you were doing. Suddenly, like, you didn't do the puzzle." He's like, "But it's weird how we keep running into each other."
they all take turns
Yeah,
ripping on her.
exactly.
Chatter's like,
Yeah,
and then Leo, what about yours?
That's a really
That's
good.
a really good one.
It made me laugh. I also liked how the Cenobites, they don't even try to kill her. Like they
Yeah.
kind of make them look. They're not
No.
good guys, but they kind of made him look like just a being in this movie. And they're like,
well, that's what they were in the first movie.
I know.
Like, they weren't even like important characters.
I
in the
know,
first
but
movie.
and in this one
They were
either,
just the ones that executed.
yeah, and in this one either, they didn't pop up to like what 40 minutes in or
a
something.
little bit longer. I feel
Yeah,
Mhm.
and in this one, like I
They'll cut
like
the
when like
flashbacks.
Christy and Symphony are in hell, they were just all like, go crazy. This is
Yeah.
our
Like,
home. Welcome,
You
welcome.
kids have fun.
Yeah, you're not getting out of here.
Bathrooms on the left door, to
Yeah.
the corner. Yeah.
Hey, if you guys are getting bored, there's a circus further down.
But one of my favorite scenes is definitely the very end when what's his name again?
Dr. Phillips.
Dr. Phillips. Well, obviously when he becomes like
When
another
he becomes a
Cenobite,
Cenobite, yeah.
and he just starts killing all the crazies in that room, and he just like it's just a bunch of like
Stop
it's
motion.
stop
After this,
motion.
Beetlejuice.
I want to go to the
Practical
least favorite
effects.
part.
Like it's just practical effects, stop motion, wires,
Everyone.
all of the above. Like it's just cinematography at its best. It's like everything that you love about like.
Cheesy horror.
Not even
would you consider this
cheesy.
cheesy?
I mean, yeah, of course, but I feel like this movie has enough.
Revolutionary horror.
Enough,
Yeah.
like
Because- for the time.
dude, they were going for it. Like
Yeah.
you take from what they did at the end of the first one, where they're like, "Oh, we're not gonna have time to like make another movie. Like we may not get another chance. Let's throw a freaking
This-
skeleton dragon at the end."
it's because this movie has so many
This
like
one's
film
like-
techniques that it just melted me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because
Like
it had.
the opening scene, the lighting on that was
Oh
fantastic.
my god, it was so good. It was so good. And it's like the editing, the lighting, the cinematography, stop motion, practical effects, like oh my god, matte paintings, dude.
Do you think I feel like they were just like, let's throw everything to the wall and see what sticks, and it all stuck.
It all
Yeah,
stuck
it-
so
it
good.
was
dude.
like-
it all stuck so good.
They're like, "We dreamt big last time. Let's dream big again, and
Let's
hopefully we
dream
can get it." Because the fact that they even entered hell and had that whole Leviathan and everything happening, I was like, "Dang!" Like come on, that was awesome. You can't tell me this movie isn't cool.
It's super cool.
But it's aged honestly pretty well too. Like I'm thinking about the practical effects, fantastic. They re-showed some clips from the last movie, but it was like that stuff was cool. Like
Yeah.
bring it back, bring back that wax melting again. My favorite scene, if I had to choose one, because I agree those are both fantastic scenes. Crap, I was gonna say the one that he's just said, but I feel like there's better one. There's another good one.
Skin suits.
That was so.
I mean, they look super nice.
What do you mean? I think the prosthetics, the costumes,
Yeah,
the early ones are
costumes look
amazing.
super great. I was worried because at the beginning of the movie they're doing like a brain surgery, and
Oh,
the brain
yeah.
looked like something you get off
Yeah.
Spirit Halloween.
it looked very styrofoamy.
And the thing I didn't like was he was like, oh, like doing surgery or whatever, and he's like, oh, like here's a drill, and he just like drills it, and he's like, all right, I'm going for lunch or whatever. Like I don't know why.
I know he
left.
said I'm done. Like
Yeah,
No, yeah,
I'm
but it was
done.
like
he
that's-
just
that's
drills
not-
in the
Finish up.
brain.
that's not how surgery works.
Yeah, I
You
know
don't
he just
drill
drills in the brain. But no, the skin
It does
suit.
come back though. That whole thing of him drilling the brain. 'cause
Oh,
when he
right,
becomes a
exactly.
Cenobite, it drills into it.
It's and see that's the thing that they kind of like push more in like the third movie and fourth movie, that it's like whatever profession they had before this, and if they turn into Cenobites, that's their main like power.
we
I guess.
probably
Yeah, their
won't
gimmick.
dip into 3 beyond this point, because I feel like this is like a beautiful like 1, 2. It's good.
Is the third one with the DJ?
Third one's with the DJ. Yes.
Cameraman.
Like,
Oh, yeah, the
it feels like
cameraman,
when you get to
exactly.
the third one, it starts feeling like you're trying to go for a slasher. Like,
And it's
because
a lot
it
more
starts-
goofy too.
yeah, it starts. If I'm not mistaken,
This
I'm
one
pretty sure.
was starting to get goofy too.
Yeah,
When
and
the doctor turned into a Cenobite, everything was like a doctor pun.
I know. Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
The
yeah,
doctor will see you now. And
Yeah,
it's like,
it's terminal.
it's terminal.
He said that like three.
I
Like,
know. I know. It
Time
gets
for your prostate exam.
it gets no, and it gets worse in the third movie too.
Yeah,
it gets a lot
That's
worse.
why it's like as good as this movie was, like you can kind of see where it would start declining as a franchise.
Yeah, a little bit.
I know what my favorite scene was. It was when we had like a Royal Rumble with the Cenobites.
Oh my
okay.
god!
Because
Yeah.
So-
I got so hyped, I wanted more from that, but I was like, come on, like go
On that
for it.
note, that was actually my least favorite part of the movie.
Really? I know. What you didn't get hyped when he was like sending his hooks out, like
I mean, it was cool,
It
but
was
it was
cool.
like it was like,
it didn't live
oh,
up to
why
his
is
hype.
this new guy
So much
suddenly so much stronger?
Oh, 'cause
Why
he-
are these like
he's
Cenobites?
jacked in, man. He's plugged in.
He's in the
Yeah.
Matrix.
No,
He's in the
I
Matrix. He's on
I
control
get
of
him
the
too
Leviathan.
because these
Yeah.
things are supposed to be like the main villains.
And
of,
they get
like,
one shotted.
Yeah.
And they just one shot
Yeah.
of them.
Like
That's the disappointing part, but-
Pinhead, or I guess the lead Cenobite, he doesn't have a name yet. He traps him with chains, and then the doctor just breaks through the chains, and then the female Cenobite's like super worried, and she
Right.
gets one shot. I was like, dude, like you're like,
You could have
And
done that the
she's-
whole time.
And she's gorgeous. It's just like this gorgeous like.
Oh yeah,
lady.
I love the way they
before or after.
after.
After both.
Oh.
Yeah,
He's
she's-
talking about after. Yeah, he's not fun.
He wasn't into the skinning, the skinned woman.
No, and it's cool
I
because
like a woman who shows a lot.
you-
Doesn't
you-
show a lot of skin, if you know what I mean.
you can see who they were before they turned.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the cooler like hidden, like not hidden notes, but like one of those cool moments in the movie where like, oh, that Chatter was a little boy.
I kind of
Yeah.
it kind of gave me like 13 Ghost vibes,
It did.
where it's like, oh, like all these things have like backstories, but we don't know what they are.
but
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 you
here's a
kinda get a
little,
hint,
yeah. Here's
yeah.
a little clue.
Think
You
of-
know.
think about how like imaginative this movie was like for its time.
Yeah.
Like the first
Oh,
one was
God,
already
dude, I
like
know.
over the top. He was pointing out, he's like, where did they
Like
even come
imagine,
up with this?
imagine
Like,
going into theaters at 1988 and walking out of the theater and trying to explain this movie to someone.
it's like
Dude, no.
not for everyone.
Like now we're watching, it's like this is cool, but imagine watching it at the time. You're like, this is fucked, man. Like this is, you know.
this is
Like you
devil
wouldn't
worship.
see this
Yeah.
movie and think like 40 years later you were gonna get a toy from it called Toonie Terrors.
There you go.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, I know.
So before we because we're gonna keep going because we're about to hit the 20-minute mark. We're at 17.
Let's take a break and then we'll come back and then we'll just go jump into facts. How about
Before
that?
we hit-
See
before
how
we hit
many of
facts,
this, how much this filmed.
I know, dude. for
Before
real.
we're there though, least favorite scenes, real quick, because you said
I
yours.
already mine.
That was yours.
For me, there's not really a
I
least
could think of one
favorite
that you
scene.
probably don't like.
Which one?
The family reunion.
No, that one was neat. You know, like it was
Was it?
kind of neat. I
He
mean,
was
I
like,
believe
hey, I got
Every
you
other
here so I
movie.
can get my rocks off.
so. No, well, I mean, there was
Cousin or like niece.
there was one scene that I was like, man, why? It's like kind of dumb, you know, because it's like when Julia was like sucking the life out of that one dude in the beginning, and you see her spine like showing. The camera just kind of goes to him, and then it cuts like back to
I
her,
was a little
and it's
disappointed
already
that there wasn't a
like
transformation,
perfect.
but-
Oh no! Oh, I know which one. When she's all bandaged up,
Oh, and then,
Oh,
and yeah.
she gets the last
one more
girl.
person.
she gets one person, and she's like beautifully
Yeah.
makeup and like hair all
He's
like
she
curled
looks-
up.
all the other ones didn't work. And this one was the one. that
Yeah,
worked.
because it's like she grabs one person and it's like she's still bloodied and like back bandages.
See what it was she's like absorbed all the like the soul or whatever, and she just saved them up like V-Bucks, and then she's like, oh, I want.
I
this
mean,
skin.
it would have been fine, but just the whole point that the camera goes back to her and like, dude, she did her hair and everything. Like her hair was perfectly
Yeah,
done.
because I think she was a redhead in the first movie.
so
And now
too,
it's-
dude. Like she
Yeah,
had full, like full
revitalized.
makeup and everything, like Hollywood glam. Hollywood
Yeah.
glam. You know, it's like, oh wow, okay,
Yeah.
all right, yeah.
You gotta make a deal with the devil to look like that.
I mean, she pretty much did.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That was a joke, cousin.
Ha. No, I was still
Keep
trying
up.
to think of my seed. I will pause there. And I'll say mine when we come back.
We'll be back.
Oh, well, we're in suspense. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back.
All right. So for the final last scene that I didn't enjoy, or my least favorite scene in the movie, was just kind of the introduction of Tiffany. It was just kind of like hey,
Here's
who's
this
that?
little
Who's that
girl.
little girl doing puzzles in the room? And then like all of a
That's Tiffany.
She's really good at
She's
puzzles.
just been here.
she's amazing at puzzles. She doesn't speak. Like
It
it
was-
just felt like kind of forced because she was like you said, it was awkward that she was able to just get out of
It was
the.
plot armor, dude.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying that.
Yeah.
But that's okay for the sake of moving the story along. I'm okay with that. But it's just like if I had to pick a weak scene. Was a weak
It was
scene.
kind of dumb because it's like when they're right away when they're like, she's good at puzzles. I'm like, great, she's gonna be the hero of the movie. She's gonna be,
But
like
it was also weird because
we're
it
gonna
was
see
like,
who's gonna survive at the
and
end.
she's
of the...
doing like regular puzzles. Like, oh, here's a wood puzzle. Here's like puzzle with birds or whatever.
Yeah.
And, like people are dying and they're like, oh, like the puzzles are the key, but it's like those are regular puzzles.
Yeah, exactly.
Like unless every puzzle you solve was like people are dying.
And on top
Yeah.
of that, Chrissy didn't even meet her. I don't think. Did she?
No, she saw her through the window.
Until she didn't meet her until they were in hell.
That's what I'm saying.
No,
So it's
she
like,
saw her through the window because they were like, hey, you're a suspect in a homicide investigation. Free reign of the hospital.
Here's your sleeping pills.
And then she goes next door and she sees her doing puzzles and she like kind of waves at her. And then Kyle shows up and he's like, oh yeah, like that's we don't know her name or where she's from. We just call her Tiffany. Cause, like,
okay, all right. Because I was like, because
That-
when she was on the show, she's like, Tiffany, you must have solved the puzzle. And I was like, how does she know what her name was? And
No,
how
yeah.
does she know that she solved
well,
the
to
it's
be
puzzle?
found it
fair,
earlier
she
scene.
doesn't know her name. Everyone just called her Tiffany.
All right, fair enough.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Did
Yeah,
she
you're right,
never even
you're
said her
right.
name at the
No,
end?
she doesn't have her
No,
name.
That's
she
hilarious.
said, oh shit.
Yeah. First
Yeah.
line.
Shit.
All right, so
Fun facts.
But real quick before I get into the fun facts, who
Oh.
was your favorite character?
to be honest, I must have to say Julia.
Yeah.
Julia
Agreed.
was a badass in this.
I liked our main character, Christy. Right? How do you say it properly? That's why I can't say she's my favorite because I was forgetting her
Christy?
name.
Christy?
Kirsty.
Kirsty.
She's
Not-
I've always liked her throughout the other films, but
Mhm.
I mean Julia just like
She killed it, dude.
dude, yeah, she literally
Yeah.
character growth from one to the next. It's like damn,
It's
like,
like, oh my god, dude.
and props to the actress.
Ashley Lawrence.
There you go.
Thank you. Screenshot,
Um,
hopefully.
Who was your favorite Cenobite?
He loves a chatterer, but
I love the
that's
chatterer,
just
yeah.
Every,
But the fucking
doctor?
the surgeon one, I would get in this movie. That's my favorite Cenobite for sure.
he seemed like his design was kind of stupid.
It kind of was.
It was bald blue face with like string over his
No,
face.
yeah, it was kind of dumb, but it's like
everything else
his
was, everything else
abilities,
was
dude.
cool.
His abilities just top notch. Like,
he
I love
wasn't
that.
blue until that thing like went through his head, right?
No, he was
Yeah,
blue
He
before
was,
that.
When he
yeah,
came
he wasn't
out.
blue. He was just kind of like pale.
I'm just double checking because I
Yeah.
know that he's supposed to be like possessed by the Leviathan, like by the creature, by
I
the.
kept making this dumb joke
basically
during the
the-
movie because he was like, "Oh, I like the Chatterer," and every time the Chatterer would show up, I was like, "Oh my god, somebody turn the heat up! He's freezing."
The no favorite one has to be Pinhead if I'm being honest because not many of them do anything else. So it's
Yeah.
like you kind of only have a couple
Pinhead
choices.
doesn't really do much. He does less in this movie than he did in the first movie, to be honest.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Which is
'cause
kinda weird because-
I'm factoring on the fact that the third movie.
This
he's
movie
a bigger
is so
he's-
much better than the first movie. But it's like Pinhead and the other Cenobites, like they have to do less with this movie than the first movie, which is nuts.
Yeah, but like I mentioned, they're like
So-
not supposed to be characters. They're just like these entities.
I
They're
got
like
it.
they're-
Yeah,
it's
okay.
almost like a force of nature.
I have to
Right.
pause for a second. You think this movie's better than the first? You think the sequel is better than the first? I don't know if you guys agree with that. I actually like the first a lot more.
I think this is better than the first.
Okay,
I like the first one better, and I don't for the sole purpose that this movie can't stand on its own without the knowledge of the first movie.
I'm not. That's true, but I'm saying that's just from like an enjoyment
There
perspective.
was more. There was more unique stuff done in this movie.
Hell yeah.
Literally, hell yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the first movie overall was more solid.
It was a lot more solid for
Yeah.
sure. This one was a little bit more messy. I feel like I had more fun with this one than the first one because the
I-
first one was a slow burn for sure.
Yeah.
They
It
both
took a
have
while,
they
but
both have a lot
yeah.
of passion to them, but like I feel like I could feel feel it more in that first one with that little gremlin version of Frank.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Frank dinner.
Like, but yeah, like thinking back on this movie, I forgot more scenes from this movie than I did from the other one. Like I remember
Yeah.
the like the parts we all said, the main three ones are the ones I remembered.
Yeah.
Right.
But like other than that, like I remember the first Hellraiser just so highly.
Mhm.
So, but they're pretty close to each other.
Well, how often did you watch the first Hellraiser?
I watched it about 3 times, about the same amount of times. I think I rewatched it one time before we recorded, and then that was like my third or fourth time.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah. But all right,
Well, I liked Butterball.
you like Butterball?
For no reason. I just he looks stupid, and I'm like, I relate to this guy. And then certain scenes, he looked like Patrick from SpongeBob.
He did. Yeah, he did.
and I just kind of vibed with him.
I don't remember if they ever explained why he is the way he is, because they each not like in
No,
short
yeah.
like comics or something. I'm sure they do at some point.
I'm sure they do. Like I said, it gives me like 13 Ghost vibes, where it's like everyone has a backstory, but like they're just not gonna flat out say it.
Yeah.
So you want to get into some fun facts, Leo?
Yeah. So this movie tanked at the box office.
That doesn't surprise me. I can't imagine people being horrified watching this in theaters.
People saw this and then they were like, "Oh, like I'm probably gonna tell my friends about this." They're like, "I'm not gonna tell anybody about this."
Yeah,
and they
like,
burned the ticket the same night. Like,
you know
no
how
one must ever know.
we have to meet up with each other just to talk to each other about horror. Imagine back then.
Like, and to be honest, this movie has a huge cult following, but the critics hated it. It has a 53% on Rotten Tomatoes, as well as a 53% with the audience members.
Wow, I did not expect that.
So yeah, and even with some people, they hated it too. The reason why they hated it is because it's stupid.
What did
stupid
you say
reasons.
the score was for this?
53% Rotten Tomatoes,
53%.
and then 58 with audience score.
Yeah, literally still below 60 for
So
both.
still,
That's
yeah.
nuts. I did not know that.
But it's like for a lot of the main complaint about people
All right.
was that it had too much senseless violence and incoherent plot, which I agree with the second one, but the first one was,
I don't agree with either part. What was incoherent about it? It was pretty straightforward.
It was kind of messy here and
you
there.
have to leave it like, oh, like you're just led to believe like, oh, this doctor has all this research about this.
This
But
little girl.
There's no reason why he would want it.
You're right, exactly.
They show no desire for him to have to seek out this knowledge, but he's just there for the sake of like, oh, we need someone to be interested in this.
Christy has a
Okay.
subplot about saving her dad, which just like obviously plot twist turns out to be the uncle, but then they just completely forget about the dad. Like they don't mention him at all after that.
Because it's not.
She just says sorry.
Yeah,
I know.
Because it's not like the Cenobites even are. Was the Cenobites or was it Frank who was like, oh, he's in his own hell?
Cenobite said it.
Because they
Cenobites are
confirmed he's there.
Right.
But they could have been lying. But they also have no reason to lie.
to lie.
That's their whole character.
They were literally like, oh, like go ahead and look around.
Right.
You're not gonna find a way out.
I can see now if I had to poke holes in logic and stuff, I can see why people would be annoyed that these beings that are like basically like they're basically like fallen angels, are basically like demons.
Yeah.
And then now they're humanized. You're like, oh, that sucks.
Mm-hmm.
But like you have to really go for it. Like
the one thing I thought was like silly, like the special effects were fantastic. This movie, as always,
top notch.
The one thing I didn't like with the special effects was the opening scene with the creation of Pinhead. It was just a little silly for me.
Chill,
with the little
where they go like, oh,
little
like,
tentacles,
poke, and you see them like, yeah, hold still.
Yeah.
Like
if that's the tone setter, you're like,
yeah. I was like, that's why I was a little iffy when the movie started. But
so this movie, its budget was $6 million, which is obviously
6 times what they had.
Six
for
times what they
the
had in the first one. But the original budget for this was supposed to be closer to 50. So they did plan a lot for this movie. The budget was cut during pre-production. So like while they were gearing up to shoot it, they cut the budget extremely, like by a lot. So obviously you can tell that this movie was very what's the word I'm looking for?
Anticipated?
Not anticipated, but like not anticipated, but like not expressive. Like they want to do a lot with it. Yeah, like it's very out there, like they wanted to do so much with it that you can tell, with like the whole scenery of hell, all the stop motion, like the whole story. You're like, they could have gone a lot more with a bigger budget, That's one of the biggest complaints that people had too. It's like the minimal budget that it had, and it's like, dude, but it's like, on top of that, from the 6 million, they gained back 12 million in the box office. So not only did they break even, but
So is the movie still highly rated then now? Not at all?
It's still it does have a cult following.
Audience score, like not on Rotten Tomatoes, but like just in general, I think it's like 9 out of 10. But like if you look at the IMDb, anything like that, you're gonna hit under 60%.
Well, I wanted to see if there was anyone who like enjoyed this as much as I did.
So
I thought the movie was sick.
So a lot of scenes that they had planned for the movie obviously were cut because of the budget. One of the bigger, they cut out 2 main subplots from the movie. One of them was actually the backstory of Pinhead, which they showed a little bit in the beginning.
Yeah.
But they obviously like expanded on that in the third movie. That whole section of the third movie was actually supposed to be in this movie.
Yeah, because the third movie specifically focuses on Pinhead. That's also part of
this movie was supposed to be a lot more Pinhead oriented, especially with the backstory. They cut almost that entirely.
So I had a question. I don't know if this is in your facts right there, but because the first movie was based off of a book by Clive Barker.
This was based off.
Is this still
more
part of this the
it's
same book?
part of the same, yeah. So
Okay, so the source material they just like had more planned from the book.
correct, yeah.
Okay.
On top of that, they had obviously more backstory on Tiffany, and they had an entire subplot on Kirsty's dad as well, Larry. They had to write him out because the original actor decided when he saw that the budget cuts were being made, he decided not to reprise his role, so they had to cut him out entirely, almost entirely. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
On top of that, they had a bunch of scenes that they took out. One of them was supposed to be Tiffany and Kirsty running through the hell maze away from the engineer. So the engineer was supposed to come back.
I'm glad he didn't.
They cut that
I
out.
Him a lot.
The engineer?
Yeah, I thought you loved him.
No, he's like this. He looked so bad.
I gotta look back at our old footage because I could have sworn you loved him.
Yeah, probably was like the reason why I like Butterball. He's just stupid. It's like this is fun, but
Yeah, it's on a little track.
And the reason why this one came out a year later is because this one was greenlit during the production of the first one. So this one, they're like, okay, right after you guys are finished with this one, start shooting the second one. We're gonna give you a bigger, but like they knew.
So they didn't do it until after the. I thought they would have got the budget after the success of the first one. So I'm surprised.
They got greenlit for the second movie. Obviously, they didn't get the budget until
they were
after,
told, yeah.
right? Until they were told. Yeah. I mean, oh yeah. And fun fact, the horn that when they're in hell, you know, when the what is it called? The
Leviathan.
The Leviathan, when it's spinning, you see that it's a horn. The way that horn, it's Morse code for God. It's kind of cool.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Easter egg.
There's so much, yeah.
So what was Tiffany's deal? Because like I said, she seemed like such an unnecessary character.
It was just never made.
That she was supposed to have a backstory.
By the special features, let's find out.
No, I mean not really. It just says that
never
Tiffany
shot
was
it.
supposed to have more of a backstory, and how is she connected to? Because she was supposed to be more connected to the Leviathan, like the configuration.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like she was supposed to have more of a connection to it. In this sense, they cut all that out. They're like, she's just good at puzzles. You know, just plot armor. She's just good at puzzles. Like she's got.
I guess it does weaken the story a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and looking at her IMDb, she really didn't do a lot
Afterwards.
after this. She had a couple roles like prior, but I think this is like the last movie she was in. Which I mean, I think it would be hard to find work if you were in a sequel to a movie, you didn't have any lines, and then it flopped in the box office.
Unfortunate. It sucks how that plays
But
out.
it's hard to say if she was even a good actor because they didn't give her like really any room
Enough
to
to
perform.
do. Yeah. For me, watching this movie, because I used to work in a hospital and I used to do like sitter, where I'd have to watch 5150 patients and like people who would harm themselves and danger to other people. Yeah, some of the scenes in this movie is pretty hard to watch. Like the opening kill, or I guess is it the opening kill, right? Where he's just cutting himself up.
Yeah.
That is technically the opening kill, right? Because I know they do recap, but it's the first death of the movie. That's from the timeline that we're on.
Yeah, if you don't count like the bodies from the previous film.
Yeah. That scene where he's seeing maggots all over his flesh, and when we were watching the movie, Raymond was like, he was like, I want my mommy. He's like in the cell, and I was like, that guy was sad. I was like, I specifically said that out loud.
Everyone else was like,
Going
like
nuts.
they're just crazy, but this guy was like, get him off me, like clearly in distress.
He was like, I want my mom, I want my mommy, and then you and I said like, I was like, oh, that guy made me sad. You're like, yeah, because that's the only one who seems like he would tear off his own flesh if he had a chance. And then literally like the
And
next
then he
scene,
got it.
he got the chance, and I was like, oh, and I was watching that scene. I was like, damn, that was disturbing, but it was also like, good job, like
Yeah.
for the horror aspect of it. I was like, oh man, that's brutal. And then the doctor having so much power over patients like that. It's a lot.
kind of reassuring that things aren't run that way anymore. Because like it just seemed really. It's like obviously an over exaggeration, but obviously like doctors would like abuse their power in like such a way, like not like, hey, I'm gonna have you cut your skin off so I can, get a girlfriend. But like
we live in the U.S., we know how harsh the healthcare system can be.
Yeah.
But yeah, with all that in mind, that's kind of I think that's also what kind of made it for me while watching
Mm-hmm.
it, because I was like, damn, this movie is disturbing as hell.
Yeah.
But it's not like it pushes the envelope, but it never goes past that point where I'm like, I'm not enjoying
It's
this
not
movie.
too much, yeah.
Yeah, like a lot of other movies. All right,
You want to finish it with some final thoughts? Or you got any more facts for us?
a couple of final thoughts. Julia was actually supposed to. The first movie was actually supposed to end with Julia coming out of that mattress as being like the queen of hell. But they decided to cut that due to Pinhead's popularity.
Yeah.
So they're like, let's just have him get the spotlight. So that's why they had Julia more spotlight on her in this movie.
Yeah.
Villain arc.
Slay Queen.
Supposedly, there's an unrated
Sorry,
version of this movie that's supposed to be even gorier and more intense. It's supposed to have an NC-17 rating.
Shoot.
That version and this one it's actually banned in Canada and Australia.
Weaklings.
According
Oh, no.
according to a scene from that uncut version, in the scene where like that mental patient is like mutilating himself.
Yeah,
He was supposed to cut off his own genitals in that scene too,
Oh, my
and it's like full on, like full frontal. So I can imagine why it's banned in a lot of countries.
Oh
you
yeah,
know?
no. That's
but now, aren't you just a little curious?
Okay. Raymond, how the hell did you notice that the last guy was?
Oh yeah. Did you guys ever, when you guys watched the movie, if you got this far in this video, did you notice that the same mover was in both movies? Because we didn't. Somehow Raymond did.
He was like, "That's a movie from the first movie." I was like,
What?
They were movers in the first movie?"
You don't remember?
No, I remember that, but I was just like, the fact that you remembered him
so
immediately.
shortly before we got here, you were like, "Oh, you guys should watch a recap of the first movie just in case." And I was like,
Oh,
"All right." So
okay.
I started watching a recap.
Cheater.
And
that's
not
why.
cheater.
You didn't tell us that.
Okay, but
That
it's
makes a lot of
still
sense.
impressive.
That makes a lot of sense.
Because I watched recap too, and I didn't catch it. Yeah,
That's how I knew.
good job.
Well,
you could just played off you were a god, like you're a
Oh,
genius.
of course.
quick rating out of 10.
For me, it's, after talking it over, I'm sitting at an 8.
Oh, that's good. I'll give it a 8.5. 8.5, yeah.
8.5. I'm
8.5.
going to go 8 as well.
Yeah, I was at an
8.5,
8.5, but then after like listening to critiques, not just being in my own little head bubble,
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, valid points. Valid points. Some story portions did not make as much sense as I imagined, just because I was so into it.
Yeah.
I still, again, find the movie incredibly enjoyable. I still think it's a great sequel.
It's
Good
an amazing
a
sequel.
standalone film, no, but
No.
like, yeah, it's still a hell of a lot of fun. And then also like, if you're already into horror, it's just like next level. Like,
Seriously, yeah.
it's just that step up. So, all right, well that should conclude our episode.
should,
Unless you guys
yeah.
want to say anything else.
Yeah, so if you guys want to go ahead and join us on our next video, we are going to be watching Coraline,
Ooh.
which would be fun. This is very, very childish.
Have you guys seen it?
Very entry level.
Yeah,
I
love
haven't seen
Coraline.
You haven't seen it?
No,
Oh,
it's one of those
man.
movies I hear like, oh, it's super good. You should watch it. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I'll get to it. And that's next week. So
Awesome.
that's going to be fun.
That's it,
Final
man.
thoughts.
I
Follow
don't
us
know if I
on
talk more.
Instagram as well as our Twitter.
Horror podcast too.
Horror
Horror
podcast, too.
Yes, I gotta get a screenshot of that because I couldn't find one. I didn't get one last time. And then
Um,
yeah, subscribe if you liked. If you liked the video, like it. If you disliked it, go ahead and dislike it because
Is that
your
even a
opinion-
thing anymore on YouTube? Dislike?
they can't see it.
can't
So
know.
you'll never know.
But
But I
it'll
will.
only hurt us. If you want to hurt our feelings, dislike the video, but please don't.
100%.
We're hanging on by a thread. Our lives aren't doing great right now.
Oh no. All right. Well, thank you for watching. Take
Thank you
care.
for watching. Thank you for listening.
Take care.
And we will see you in next episode.
Bye.
Bye.